Today, we're going to be joined by Pete Steinberg. He's the president at Innovative Thought and the former U.S. women's rugby coach. I've promised that I'm not going to spend too much time talking about that, but absolutely think you should connect with him after to talk about it because he has very cool stories. Um, and he's going to be leading us in a conversation today about leadership and change and what he is coined hacking the change curve.
I sort of have dual hats that often when I speak to groups. So one is I'm an executive coach. So I work with C-suite executives in large and small companies and also other leaders in those companies. And I'm the president of Innovative Thought. And in Innovative Thought, we really do what we call talent management for smart companies. We actually help people drive change through their organization. And we do it in lots of different ways. And you'll hear a little bit about the way we do that. And then, of course, I have an elite sport background. So I coached at Penn State for 19 years as the women's rugby coach, and we won 10 national championships. And I also coached the U.S. women from 2011 to 2017. I went to 2 World Cups, and I was a coach at the Rio Olympic. I am sure everyone is multitasking. I'm sure everyone's doing everything else, but the goal here is for you to be able to walk away and be able to have a better understanding about how you can lead change and innovation within your organization, or how you can actually improve a change or innovation that you're currently leading or involved in.
One clap together. Is everyone ready to do one clap? Drinks down. Ready? 3, 2, 1. Oh, that was pretty good at the back. We're a little slow. Okay. Ready? 3, 2, 1. You want to do 2 claps? Do you think we can do 2? 2 claps. All right, boss man says 2 claps. Okay, ready? 3, 2, 1. There you go.
Wow, well done. Okay, a new skill.
Yeah,
I've
that's
learned
right.
this in this moment.
Right, and so I'm going to just be really honest. Every coach that you hear, all the professional coaches will be like, values are really important to us. Like it's the number one thing, and it is, because unified values is what makes the team. But what if someone's really, really, really good and can help you win, but maybe doesn't always embody the values that your team wants to have? And those are the hardest choices, right? And Cheddar and I were talking about this yesterday. It's not about actually if someone has those values innately. It's about whether your team culture is strong enough to have people live those values, even if it isn't something that comes to them naturally. I've never let anyone call me coach, ever. Coaching men, coaching women, don't call me coach. I already have authority because of my role. And when you call me coach, that builds a hierarchy that prevents me from helping you be as good as you can be. Like, call me Pete, right? So everyone calls me Pete, right? Because that creates a relationship that I can help my athletes grow. That's giving them space. So as a leader, you have to choose. Like, I said, hey, do you guys want to win or not? I didn't put it like that. But you want the 7th players, or do you not want the 7th players, right? That's giving them leadership space. And when you give your team leadership space, they can run on their own. They don't need you. Easy team member, anyone can lead them. The hard team member, that's the one that I want. That's the one that I want to turn around. Like, when you look at the associates that you work with or the early team members and they're difficult, like, you can change their lives. That's why I'm here. Almost always I get called in because there's a problem. Right? No one's like, this person's doing really great, they need an executive coach. What they'll say is, this person is really struggling, we think you can help them. And the only thing that I ask is that they want to go on the journey of being great. So the journey that you go on as a leader has to be one of curiosity, but it has to be one of passion, and it has to be something that is important to you. Because as a leader, you will say something to your team that you will forget 5 minutes later, and they will remember for the rest of their lives. So leadership shock is this interesting concept, and I might have been a little bit slow on the uptake. Remember I said I would get called in when things were going wrong? I was seeing people with the same symptoms.
their calendar was crazy, their team was confused, and they didn't think, and they weren't feeling impactful. They weren't able to move anything. Like the end of the week, they were working really hard, but they weren't able to have an impact. And what I realized is that these symptoms had this concept of transition. All of the people I worked with had gone through some transition. Either they'd gone to a new role, or the organization had changed around them, and they were getting stuck in their old leadership ways. And it turned out that the way that they used to lead isn't the way that they need to lead in their new role. I'll use a finance example here. The things that make me good as the VP of finance are potentially the things that would get in the way of me being a great CFO. So if I'm a VP of finance, my strengths might be being in the details, right? Really understanding what the finances are, right? Spending time looking at the numbers. But if I do that as a CFO, that isn't, like, a CFO is an enterprise-wide leader. A CFO is someone who the CEO should be leaning on to think strategically about what they do. Do you need to understand the numbers? Yeah, you need to understand the numbers, but your strengths need to be different as the CFO. So transitions are hard. And what's interesting is that when you look at the data, when people transition to their first leadership role, they don't often get into leadership shock because they assume this is going to be hard and I need to be different. But when people transition later on in their career, they've spent 15 years being a really successful leader. Those people are really hard to change, right? They've spent 15 years leading in a certain way, and so that idea of transitioning and leading differently is very, very hard, okay? So any kind of transition you go through requires you to stop, reflect, and be really intentional. We value time poorly. We discount time in the future. So for me, for you to make time to meet with me today is really hard because your time is really valuable to me. You're like, I have all these things I have to do. But the time that you have 2 months from now, somehow that's not as valuable. Even though on that day, that time's going to be really valuable. Right? So one of the things that you have to do as a leader is you have to be really intentional about your time, and you have to see your time as a non-renewable resource. Just like I did when I prepared for England, every hour that you spend, that you waste, is an hour that you don't get back. Right? You can't get that hour back. You're in a meeting, and at the end of the meeting you said, I shouldn't have been in that meeting, I didn't add any value. You can't get that time back. It's a non-renewable resource. And as a leader, the only thing you have is your time. That's the only currency you have, is where you spend your time.